And in other news, Godzilla waded ashore today in New York City with his human-sized accountant, Mr. Penchant Whiff from Titsville, Maryland, and attempted to get a bank loan. The loan was to put an extension on his watery home, which currently spans several acres on the Atlantic seabed and comprises, amongst other things, a large dining area, a man cave filled with, of course, the corpses of actual men, and an elaborate sex dungeon. Sadly, though, despite Mr. Whiff's attempts to translate, and the mayor of New York telling people not to panic as he flew from his private runway in a jet made of gold adorned with rocket launchers, many people were killed under Godzilla's large drippy paws as he attempted to navigate up Broadway to find an establishment with the best interest rates. People being what they are, some cheered, waving flags, playing drums, and generally smelling like a backed-up trash compactor in solidarity for kaiju rights, and made demented pleas to have the 70-foot underwater-dwelling Japanese nuclear monster considered an American citizen, and allowing him the right to vote, collect unemployment, and to play backgammon after nightfall with his pals Gamera and Mechagodzilla on Governor's Island between the months of July and October. Head pundits on Fox News spent all morning debating his existence, and even after part of his ankle took out half of News Corp's 48th Street offices, Bill O'Reilly was sure he was a figment of pinhead scientists' imagination and declared the whole Manhattan invasion to be the president's fault. Meanwhile, everyone else ran, screamed, turned to religion, or was simply swiftly trampled under foot or tail under the watchful glare of media cameras from around the world. Bono is already in talks to produce a charity single, and a video featuring some of the wealthiest, most androgynous-looking and incredibly earnest celebrities begging regular low-income families to hand over their hard-earned money is in pre-production right now. More on this as it develops. And now... welcome to this week's episode of the After Movie Diner, and it's always a thrill to have this gentleman back on the show. He is Danvers, Massachusetts answer to Randy Newman, and one of the most prolific songwriters of this or any age. In fact, the most prolific songwriter this possibly ever has been. He's also a fantastic writer, actor, and producer of wonderful monster-based B-movies. It is, of course, the now legendary and Wired magazine featured, although they're bastards for not liking him, Matt Farley. Hello, sir. Welcome to the diner once more.
Thank you, and I'm taking over the diner.
You're taking over the show.
This is the After Movie Diner infomercial podcast for however long this takes, because we are celebrating the release of Catch Up or Don't, See If I Care, by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures.
And what a mouthful that is.
It's a great title, but it's a great band name and a great title. And listeners, the host of the diner is Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. Where did that pseudonym come from, John?
Well, as all things, it came from a completely innocuous moment. I was on a job in North Las Vegas working for the government there. I was working in the... I was basically scanning maps and blueprints of North Las Vegas into a computer and then putting it on microfiche.
Very Kafka-esque occupation, I feel.
Yes, completely. But there was all these like big plans, big schemes, big maps and things. And on one of them, it said, I think near a blueprint for a building, it said, and miscellaneous plumbing fixtures or something like that on the thing. And I was like, I like that. That'll do. And I wrote that down. I don't know why it stuck with me, but I just liked the randomness of, and get us a pile of plumbing things. Like it wasn't specific. It wasn't, we need a wrench and pipes and whatever. It was just miscellaneous stuff will do.
It's wonderfully vague.
Right. And then the other thing, that there's a track on the first ever album that I did as Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, which funny enough is not on Bandcamp, but was a track called Weatherproof Commander, which is like a blues song about like the weatherproof commander as if he was some sort of mad local superhero, but not a superhero, like one of these guys who like dresses up as a superhero and prowls the neighborhood. And that was based on the name of a alarm, a house alarm that you could buy for the outside of your building that was called the Weatherproof Commander. And I thought that's such a grand, over-the-top title for what's just a little flashing box. You know?
Well, that's the reason why we should all keep a notebook in our pocket, or nowadays with our phones have the little notepad on the phone, so that when you come across these inspiring little things, you jot them down and then you work them into your art. So that's good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this show, you realize John Cross is not only a prolific podcaster who entertains us all the time, but he's a fantastic musician. And you do know this because you've been listening to The Diner, and we get so many Diner ditties all the time. Now, have any of these songs ever been played on The Diner before, or no?
Of the latest album, I think a couple of the very early ones. It's a bit of an odd album because it's been put together over the last 18 months. And I had a batch of about 5 or 6 songs that were done about 18 months ago, or within the last sort of, the first sort of 6 months of that block. And some of those have been played. But most of them are more recent, and most of them, no, I haven't played.
The opening track, I remember. You sent me some demos a while back, and I remember the opening track especially. But I feel like you might have even played it on the Diner. But regardless, here it is. This amazing album called "Catch Up or Don't." See if I care. And what the title is saying to me is, "Hey world, I just made an amazing album, and I bet you're not going to pay attention to it, but I'm putting it out anyway." Is that what you're saying?
It's not particularly like this album is amazing, but it's the idea of, look, there's all this stuff going on, certainly internet stuff, and we've spoken about this before with a lot of what you're doing and what I'm doing and what our friends are doing online, and it's like, look, catch up or don't. Like, we don't care. We're going to be producing great stuff anyway, but catch up or don't. I suppose that's where it comes from. It's, again, one of those things completely came off the top of my head. I think I was feeling a bit kind of flippant one day and maybe a bit edgy one day and a bit just kind of, fuck it, the world. And I was creating the album cover, which has all this sort of, it's a bit of a collage, although it looks like one photograph, it's actually like a bunch of things put together. And I did the title on it, Catch Up or Don't, See If I Care, as a kind of throwaway sort of thing. I then saved it, but I didn't save one without the title on it. So when I came to do the album sort of months and months later, it had to be called that. And I'm perfectly happy with that. But again, it's one of those things that didn't really mean anything. But yes, it does kind of mean, hurry up and take notice. Or don't, I'll keep doing it,
nothing's going to stop us from creating stuff. It would be nice if people caught up, but we're not going to stop otherwise. Either way,
it's also a little bit, just to get a bit highfalutin. But it was probably on the day that I was writing that. It was as much about the creativity thing as it is just in general that idea that the world doesn't catch up quick enough. There's normally a generation that goes, "Oh, are we still discussing these things of the past?" I don't want to get political, but gay marriage or abortion or whatever it is. And I understand people have opinions on everything, but there are some things that, as far as most this latest generation is concerned, come on, let's stop going back over these things. Let's just deal with them and move on. They've been decided. They've been debated by the so-called highest minds in the country. Let's just get on with it. And there's always a feeling of any generation of like, catch up or don't, but let's kind of get on with it. That's another part of it, I suppose.
That's a bigger picture interpretation of the phrase. I like it.
I guess, yeah.
So I've listened to this album probably about 10 times now, start to finish.
I'm honored, sir. I'm honored. Yeah.
My baby has probably listened to you more than any other artist. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
You're informing his musical taste,
Poor kid, stop playing him something else.
He's rolling around on the floor to songs like what is I Had You, he's rocking out. We'll get to that. But the general theme that I'm getting from this album, and correct me if I'm wrong, is life, the daily grind, the daily hustle. What's the point? And the point is that there's still moments of solace that can be found, especially at the movies, but not just at the movies. And as a side note, the singer has really got to start going to bed earlier because by the time you're done listening to the album, you're like, look, hey, Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, maybe let's set a bedtime for 1 a.m. I'm just saying.
Right.
So that's a general. Any other themes that you think shine through?
Yeah, I was a little worried that the album would maybe on occasion come across a bit like that thing you don't like, which is the tortured artist thing, and it's not meant to do that at all. Honestly, a lot of the album is brutally honest stuff, and then there's about 5 tracks on the album that are completely works of. This is a bit...
fiction.
Complete works of fiction, but in a sort of Dylan way. Stream of consciousness, gobbledygook poetry, just made-up stuff. Stories. I love telling stories about things. I love imagining movies in song, doing road movies, especially road movies, but I love the idea of taking a character and traveling them somewhere in order to deal with a particular thing in life. And, autobiographical things float in and out of those songs, but it's, I liked mixing it up. And with the tracks on this album, it's weird because I don't play it chronologically. So the track from 18 months ago, although weirdly enough, the track from 18 months ago is the first track, but it doesn't go chronologically from there. I've mixed the tracks up and done the track listings so that the album is a interesting listen musically. The themes actually go back and forth from the most recent of my life to 18 months ago. And, you know that personally a whole bunch of stuff has happened to me in that time that I'm commenting on and singing about and talking about. And so but those particular topics bounce all the way back and forth in the album, right to the last track. But I did it musically so that there are highs and lows as you listen, because lyrics are great to delve into for people who want to have a third or a fourth or a fifth listen. But I also want this to be a pop record that people could just put on and be like, oh, this is a fun tune or whatever.
Yeah. You don't want 5 super slow downer songs in a row. No. So
well,
you
that's the problem. Is sort of 18 months ago it would have been one type of song, and then in the middle of the album it would have been 5 or 6 really depressing tracks.
Yeah, but it's perfect the way it is. It mixes. You mix it together very well. So let's look at the first song, All Hell Breaks Loose. Great way to open an album. So you're doing everything, every instrument here, right? The guitar, you're doing the guitar solo. Are you the backing vocals too? Is that you?
Yes, there's nobody else on this album. It's everything on here is me. In fact, the only album I have where there's any collaboration are the Diner Ditties. This is all me.
What about, so is that a real trumpet or is that a synth trumpet? And I Had You.
That's a synth trumpet. That's actually part of something that's on GarageBand or GarageBand.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, I love it. You have to keep it low in the mix and you have to stick a bunch of echo on it. But there's it's one of these things that when, like you have on synthesizers, where you press the note and it'll go, brrr, it'll go up and then fade down, like if you just did a one note on a trumpet. So it has this interesting thing. So as you press it, and if you go from one note to another note to another note, it has this swell effect, like it goes, like it has this getting louder effect. And I loved it. It sounded really good with that play out at the end of that song. I was really happy.
I thought you found a trumpet player and brought him to your apartment to play that. So well done.
That might happen with the next album. I'm looking to do the next album with all real different musicians. That's the hope.
That's cool. Awesome song. And right here's that theme. I'll be out at the movies. That's
yeah.
We know you're a movie lover, and it shines through in this album, which not only do you sing about going to the movies and you sing about movies, but there's a cinematic quality to a lot of the songs, too, I think. We should. How about we listen to some of All Hell Breaks Loose, this great intro track?
Great. Let's play a few seconds.
Oh!
Oh, baby don't know which stockings my baby just can't choose. Baby don't know what lipstick and baby can't find her shoes. I don't want to be around when all hell breaks loose. So no, I'll be out at the movies. I don't need no rope to make a noose. I don't need no rope to make a noose.
I love it. The guitar solo part later on in the song, spectacular. Way to go. How long does it take you to make a song like this for the recording process?
For the recording process, it's only maybe 2 or 3 hours. But for the lyrics are always the hardest thing for me. Tunes come pretty easily, and then once I've got a theme with the tune, I can kind of do a nice mix arrangement on it. There are some songs where I had the availability of an electric guitar and a bass and some other instruments that I no longer have. But so there are different sounds on different songs, and also some songs I do fuller, like this, which I consider a big production number, and then there are other songs which I purposely kind of strip down. Yeah,
well, great work. Songs in my head a lot. I'm a big fan. Bravo. And the next song, Make or Break. I love this line. Always a case of make or break, and make is falling far behind. That is a great little some great wordplay right there, and it's. That's not a phrase that I know of, but it should be. That should just be a thing that people say, but it isn't, right?
Make or break is
make or break, but I mean the second part. Yeah.
The second part is completely me. It's my slightly depressive side coming out, and there's also a slight truth to it as well at that particular time when I was writing the song.
Yeah, well, it's very evocative phrase. You know, it gets to the point in a nice little poetic way, and it's a great little song, and it goes well from the full band rock out of the opening track to more of a laid back kind of muted folky thing going on here.
Well, the thing with the opening track is it's rocky without being like I Had You as like the big kind of driving kind of rocking number, but the opening song it's rocking, but it's also kind of slightly stripped back in its design. So, and I didn't want to open the album with this is of course sounding like highfalutin terms, but like the hit single. I wanted to open the album with a song that definitely opens an album, but it also heralds this is going to be a slightly different sounding album. This is not going to be... Because I could have started the album with like Handbag Full of Guns, which is like the driving kind of fun, silly, knockabout, rubbish song in the middle kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. I purposely picked the one that's... It's still a punch to it, but it symbolizes that the album's going to be a mixture of fiction and non-fiction as well, because there's definitely bits in the first track when all hell breaks loose that is autobiographical, and there's other stuff in it that's complete made up.
Let's listen to a little bit of Make or Break, ladies and gentlemen. This is good stuff. This is John Cross, and he is a folky poet. Let's hear it.
Everyone is full of suggestions, but it just leads to loads more clues. What if there is no more walking to be done in these tired old gumshoes? What happens if it happens again? What happens if you're powerless to stop it? What happens if it happens on somebody else's watch, when it should be you that got it? Going back to the start.
All right.
I'm already feeling like I'm taking this way too seriously. Okay.
No way.
Okay.
If you don't appreciate the genius of your work, no one will.
All right. Well, I'm gonna slip into your mode of being like, I am the greatest songwriter alive. Because I need to just to get through this.
Absolutely. Next song that I like is "Cast a Shadow."
Oh, you like that one? Okay. This was the one that I wasn't sure about including in the album because I don't know what this song is about. I have no idea where this song comes from at all.
Cast a Shadow, super cinematic. I imagine like a desert landscape. You know, the sun is going down after the two main characters have had a discussion about life, you know, and then there's that moment in the movie where the music slowly swells and we just see the beautiful landscape for a few seconds and you get goosebumps. This is the song that could be playing there, and a great melody.
Yeah.
And what are you saying there? Are you saying "and them and I"? You know, and them and I. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, right. And them and I. Yeah, and them and I. Yeah, it's about because there's two characters rolling down a hill or something like that. I guess it's like Jack and Jill imagery or something. I don't quite know. And then it talks about them casting a shadow, but I don't know if we ever will or something. This is no, I'm not kidding, because I was listening to the album earlier knowing that you were going to ask me about stuff, and I was listening to this song and I was trying to put myself into the place where I wrote the song. I've no idea what the song's about. I've no idea where this song comes from. I've no idea what the lyrics mean, and I don't know why it's recorded in this sort of echoey dream way that no other song on the album is.
It's fine. Yeah, it has like a vinyl sound to it, like a scratchiness a little bit too. Well, I have no idea what it meant either, and for that phrase you repeat several times, I didn't even know if you were saying "there am I" or "them and I," and
neither did I until I listened to it.
It didn't matter because it's just a great song, great melodies especially. Way to go, that little dun, 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 ba-da-da-da. Enough of me. Let's listen to it.
Okay, sir.
Strumming on the bark, the rusted engine's teeth carving names till dark, and Canada geese like the view. Oh, they cast a shadow, but we don't know if they always do. And them and I, shouting in an empty room, something happens sometime soon, and them and I, old head rolling round in the air. How do I tell them that I really just don't care? The street signs cutting through the cold, they keep on walking till it gets old. I may be lost, but unlike you, I'm not sold on anything at all.
Yeah, seriously, like the people listening to this podcast right now were holding up their cell phones and swaying back and forth.
I'd like to go old school on it. Let's hold up lighters. Let's go back to lighters. I mean, I know we're not a smoking nation anymore in the same way as we used to be, but everyone should go to a gig with a lighter rather than a cell phone. I don't care if you don't smoke. Buy a cheap $2 lighter to go to a gig with, because screw this holding up your cell phone. Go away.
I think at Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures concerts, when people come in, they should all be given a lighter.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
That's part of the experience.
I'll do that. Or some sort of safety version of it. I have this. This is fantastic. This is something that my friend Meg bought me. You'll love this. This is it's a battery, but on top of it, there's this little gizmo. And look at that right there.
Oh, nice. That's perfect.
It lights up. It's like a flashlight or a torch or whatever. It's two little LEDs with a plastic covering on top of a battery, a 9-volt battery?
Yeah. So it turns a 9-volt into a flashlight.
Yeah, and then check this. When you turn it off, the top is illuminated. for a little while. The plastic is glow in the dark. So I think this is what we should now give people at gigs. It's a cheap alternative, but it's old school and it's scientific and it's fantastic, and it's a little gizmo. You can buy them on Amazon.
Let's do it. Although we're here to promote your album. Enough about the 9-volt flashlight. All right, next song. Next song that made an impact on me. The whole album's great. Don't get me wrong, but
I just wanted to make one point on your, because this will make you laugh. Martin and the Video Shop Closure. That song, which is track 3.
Yes.
I don't want to necessarily play it or go into it too much, but I posted the album on a Facebook group that is a feedback. It's just called Feedback, and people post all sorts of random stuff, and people provide either serious or comical feedback on it, memes and things, and odd pictures. So I posted the album, and one woman who I don't know at all, she was like, "Who is Martin? Is Martin real? And did he find another video shop?" And I thought, how sweet, like how wonderful that she thought this like character was real. Then I suddenly went, he dies at the end of the song. What do you mean, is he real? He's dead.
Yeah. Well, she only listened to the first half, right. I guess. Yeah.
She probably got to track 3 and went, I've got to ask him a question. She just heard like the first verse. But yeah, very sweet.
Well, and it's good. The video stores, I could lament the death of the video store all night, and I'm glad you tackled that too.
Well, there's one verse at the very end, which I mean, the whole song is basically just you don't know what you've got till you lose it, and it uses the video store both actually and metaphorically. But
now, "Dancing as the World Ends" is awesome.
You like this one? Okay.
Starts off with that lively countdown.
Do you know what that comes from? That comes from Billy Joel. Because there's that great track of Billy Joel's, I forget what it is, but he starts it off with the worst countdown ever, where he goes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's a matter of trust. Yeah.
Right, and it's such a ridiculous countdown that when I was doing it, I was also caught up in the moment because it's got quite a lively like guitar riff that I'm doing, and it was just like 1, 2, whatever, and I kick in, and I just enjoy doing that. Plus, every album should have a track in which the guy counts it down. Sometimes I do it on multiple tracks, and I have to like edit out the countdown because I suddenly realize I've got 4 tracks back to back. But every album should have at least one where the songwriter tries to do an enthusiastic countdown. I think it's an old trope that needs to come back. Next time I'm going to bring whistling in a song back. That needs to be brought back as well.
I like that. Let's bring it back. That's real good. Let's listen to it. Let's hear this great countdown and this lively song, which it's just vocals and guitar, and just one guitar and vocals. Is that right, or is there more going on there?
I think it's basically just vocals and guitar. Yeah, I don't think there's much more overdubs on it.
You get a lot of energy with out of a little amount of instruments. All right, let's hear some of "Dancing as the World Ends."
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
If it was up to me, I'd have these 4 walls preserved in a museum for families from Wyoming to tell their relatives to come and see them. And this is where they'll find me when their games come to a close, in a state of perpetual anxiety and some cheap but comfy clothes. The world outside them is vibrant and awake. If I told you what I've eaten, you'd think it was a mistake. Hello, 3 in the morning, let me call your bluff. 4 is just around the corner, and I've not nearly had enough. And I'll be dancing as the world ends, with every muscle and tendon I can spare. Not because the world ends, but because the opportunity to dance is.
Now, I'm not sure if this is the first time that it's referenced, but it's definitely not the last time that the wee hours of the morning are referenced in this song.
Right.
And it's done in a great way. Hello, 3 in the morning. I'm here to call your bluff. It's nearly 4 a.m. and I have not nearly had enough. Maybe I paraphrased a bit, but that's great. What a great evocative phrase. And what are you doing? What are you doing out at these hours? Or is this even you?
Oh, no, this is definitely me. Any reference to small hours is definitely me. And what's weird is I feel like I've messaged you in the small hours and you've been awake, but it might be on the night shift or something.
What it is if I wait...
or baby times, maybe. With
baby
the baby
times. I just wake up briefly in the middle of the night and, of course, got to check Twitter and quickly respond and then go back to sleep.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, this is a weird thing that I found. People know that I'm currently unemployed apart from temping. And when I go long periods without temping, or even if it's just I'm not going to be temping for 3 days, let's say, my body clock, for whatever reason, and I'm doing it based purely on when I'm tired, my body clock sets itself to about falling asleep around sometimes 10 or 11 a.m., sleeping through till like 4 or 5 p.m., and then being up all night. I just have a vampiric body clock. I don't know why. There's that. There's also the fact that I've always been a nighttime person, just in general. It's just where I've always been comfortable. It's not a... there's some references on the album where it's like, oh, I'm up at this time in the morning and I'm feeling sad, but that is just specific references to certain times over the last year. I have always been a night owl, always. Even when I was an early teen and I was hanging out with John and Jim, who have been guests on the podcast several times, and we all grew up together. We were all old friends. Mm-hmm. We would watch movies late, and they would stay up till like 2, 3 a.m. We'd watch old Hammer horror movies. And even after they'd go to bed, I would like grab VHS from their room before they'd go to bed, and I'd watch another movie before I then crashed out on the couch or in the spare room or whatever. So I was always a night owl. It's just where
it's
I
cool.
feel comfortable.
And it shines through. This is your album, and it's great. It totally reflects your viewpoint and your approach to life. So that's pretty darn awesome.
Also, there was some time over the last year where I would be out with a friend late till about 11:30, and then they would go home. And I like to... I love walking New York. You know this about me. This is the thing. I love walking New York. There's a bunch of like 24-hour places. There's like a 24-hour diner. There's 24-hour Best Buy. There's a bunch of stuff where you can kind of get in out of the cold and still be up and wandering about. And I love that, particularly around sort of 14th Street and Soho area. If you see a crazy person at 3 a.m. dancing to his headphones, that's me. Because I'm out at 3 a.m. on 14th Street with the hobos and the night owls dancing. Normally I have my headphones on, and I am not shy about it. If a rockin' tune comes on, I'm clicking my fingers, I'm waving my hands, and I'm singing along. I don't care, because it's 3 a.m, man. It's my time. I don't care.
Excellent. I love it. Now, the beauty of also of this song, Dancing as the World Ends, is the listener might think, wait, is this guy happy that the world's ending? Is that why he's dancing? And that must have crossed your mind, because in the refrain you clarify and you say, I'm not dancing because the world ends.
No.
But because the opportunity to dance is there. And it's a good thing that you do reference it, because then it any chance of it being a celebration of destruction is out the window, and it's actually just a celebration of joy.
It's a celebration of defiance and joy is what it is. It's like, it doesn't matter. And the world ending is not the whole world. It's my world that's ending in the song. And it's look, things get bad, but there's always dancing, I think. Is kind of where it's coming from.
Yeah, I get the vibe. I get the general vibe, and it's great.
Yeah, but it's an upbeat song. It's a positive song. It's like a friend of mine years and years ago, because I've always been this kind of writer. It's not just recently, but years and years ago when I was writing 4-track songs, because I've written serious, quote unquote, serious songs, and I know you hate the distinction because all songs are good songs, and I don't mean to, but I just mean non-Diner Ditty songs or non-comedy songs. I've written those since I was like 14, 15, and they used to be awful poetry, and they may still be, I don't know, but I used to play them for a select group of friends, but I rarely would do it for anyone else. And one of my friends described my songs as, you know what, as long as you don't listen to the lyrics, you'll be okay, because I write very upbeat, like jolly tunes, because I have that a thing of loving melody. I'm like you, I love Billy Joel, I love McCartney, I love Randy Newman, I love someone who can do melody. I think that's very important to a song. And I hate this thing where, because it's a sad song, it has to be drony and Radioheady and introspective, whiny crap. I hate that. I much prefer a happy-go-lucky song that might be talking about weightier issues. But that's a good way to deal with it. Everything should be dealt with joy and silliness and dancing, even if it's the most despair part of your life.
Well said. Well said. And melody. Your knack for melody shines through from start to finish here. Any listeners out there, if you don't already have John Cross's voice in your head all the time from the diner, which right. I do, like sometimes I just think in your voice.
Oh, poor you, sorry.
Because I've heard so much of it. But now you can have. I have had your singing. I had you specifically just been in my. I'm just walking around, and I had you, constantly in my head. Likewise, dancing as the world ends, and likewise, you've got the wheels, you've got the lights, the shining chrome from Part Machine, which is another spectacular melody. Way to go, John Cross.
Yeah, again, this was an early track I did. This is one of the. I think this song sounds like it's more about something than it actually is, Part Machine. But this was early on that I wrote. This was one of the first block of like 5 songs I had for ages, because I had 5 or 6 songs on my Bandcamp page for ages and ages and ages, and then nothing. And then I wrote a whole bunch of new material in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. Part Machine, it's the well-worn car and or some form of transport versus human metaphor thing. But I loved the way the guitar sounded, and I loved the way I made the voice sound. I liked the little melody, and the lyrics pleased me enough that I put it all together. But I'm not entirely sure of like the deep inspiration for it necessarily, but it's a good fun track.
It is. Let's listen to some of that.
The wheels, you got the lights, they're shining chrome. You got the wheels, you got the lights, you'll get home. Part Machine, now it's done and I'm Part Machine. On the run, don't wanna be seen, can still have fun even though I'm Part Machine.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Do you
Great
know
melodies.
do you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of like Dirty World by the Traveling Wilburys. Do you know that song?
I don't know that song. No.
The song is basically they had a car magazine in the studio, and it's George Harrison, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, and so on. And they were taking phrases about this car and using it in a sort of sexual sense, or a lady sense, or a female sense, or a mate sense. But they were going round the room, and the song ends with like, he loves your 5-speed gearbox, he loves your big refrigerator, or whatever it was. And it was like a song about a Winnebago or something. But they were going around, and I just had this whole idea of like, you know what, I could do my man as machine, mate as a car kind of metaphor song. It's about time I tackled one. So that's kind of what it is.
Everyone needs at least one of those. There's limitless automotive metaphorical opportunities for songwriters, and you kind of have to do it, especially in your in your rootsy, bluesy Americana sound that you have for a lot of these songs. If you didn't have a car, it would have been a mistake.
Well, that's the other thing. I'm a lover of road movies or road stories.
Yeah.
And so, and they crop up time and time again. And I do kind of play over the same themes. And this is definitely one of those where I'm like, this is me as the machine that could take me across the country. You know, that kind of thing.
And that segues well into Percy, which is a road song too, correct?
Yeah. Percy is, Percy is my road movie as a song, and also my theory of, you know, if all else fails, get out there into the world, you know?
Let's listen to a track and make sure we make it up. It's pretty early in the song, but make sure we make it up to the line, "Don't you think the future is worth contemplating?" Because it's remarkable that you are able to squeeze those words into the beat. I had to listen a few times through just to be like, wait, what did he just say? That must have required a couple takes, yes?
Let me think back. Probably. I mean, I do multiple takes on all the songs, but probably this again. This was all about the alliterative songwriter. This was all like, how ludicrous can I be with this kind of thing, with all the P's, you know, starting off with Percy, but just all the lines alliterating, and it was sort of a bit of a fun. You know, I read a lot of biographies, and I watch a lot of documentaries, and when you watch like the Beatles anthology, which is something that I just watched endlessly when I was in my early teens, because it screened in England in early 90s. Mm-hmm. You know, very often they would talk about writing a song, not because they had something to say, but because they were having fun with words, or they were having fun with a technique, or fun with a method, or fun with Percy's that. I just so happened to also whip in a bit of road movie and a bit of personal philosophy kind of mixed in there, because that stuff always comes out. Like, that's just your wheelhouse, so it ends up being where you live, you know. But it was a fun songwriting challenge. As for fitting in that line, yeah, I think I just rattled it off and just kept going and just hoped it worked.
All right. We haven't played it yet, have we?
No, we'll play it now.
Percy poked his peepers from behind the Venetian. The world smacked him in the face like he was staring at creation. The letter on the nightstand talked of adventure stained with liquor. But if she stayed, she was afraid he'd just try to drink her. And now she's on the highway with a thumb out trying to get to Michigan. He swears that's the last time he'll ever give a stranger a kiss again. Ooh, leaving through the Longview landing in the Chevrolet, he curses at the car till the engine starts and carries him away. No more motels, no more bars, he mutters at himself. I just want the open road, the light is low, my happiness is health. The mountains grow up to meet him, to shield him from the smoking cities. He'll make his home high above the foam, deep within Washington's trees. And all of the appeal he could really feel when the stars were wrapped, his belly was full with a good roadside meal. And sometimes in passing he can picture her asking, where do you think you're going? Don't you think the future is worth contemplating? And he says no, thinking of the future will only make you worry about where we go. I have no fear, I'm happy right here.
Okay, excellent work. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get the handkerchiefs out, because this next track that I've highlighted on the album, John, I'm kind of focusing. I got some of the rockers, but it's some of the tear jerkers that really have stuck with me. What did you think going into it? Which song did you think that people would react more to the down ones or the up ones, or did you even have it? What do you think?
I honestly didn't think. I was listening to, and this is probably the biggest influence on the sadder or the more personal songs, because they're not necessarily sad. I try and whip some hope into everything, but the more personal ones, the more obviously brazen tracks, are heavily influenced by listening to or just finding again and discovering again the band The Mountain Goats. In which
good call.
In which he seems to be absolutely fearless in what he writes about. And he also manages to have wonderful melody without too many fancy chords. He's not whipping in diminished or minors or even sevenths. He's got a great way of finding melody within 3 or 4 simple chords. And there are a couple of tracks on the album that are heavily influenced by that. And I just said, you know what? I'm at this place. If I don't write about it now and try and write about it a year, 2 years later, it's going to be phony. Sometimes you have to write this stuff. Let's do it in a way that means something to me and that is inspired by something that got me through a lot of it, which is like the music of the Mountain Goats. So, which track are you talking about?
Is There No One?
Yes, I've taken that. Yeah.
So before we hear it, a couple things. First off, melodically it's fantastic. Is there no one? Just that phrase, "Is there no one?" You kind of sing in like 2 or 3 different melodic ways throughout the song, and it's fantastic. It goes up sometimes, it goes down sometimes. And listen to this. These are my notes on the song. Is there no one who will dance with me at 5 a.m.? Spectacular melodies. Of course there's no one to dance with you. Go to bed. But then, listen to this. Song is so good that I end up siding with the narrator, even though he's asking a lot of someone to dance with him at 5. By the end of the song, I'm like, come on, dance with the guy. So you won me over. My sensible outlook was totally changed by this fantastic, sweet, and it's very open, just kind of like letting the world be like, all right, I'm feeling a little lonely, and here we go.
But it's also a flip on the usual. It's not a song about I want the great love or I'm looking for the one. It's just a song about, you know what, sometimes you just need someone, a little bit of companionship, and someone to just understand the moment.
Right. You're not looking for the complication of long-term relation, whatever that line is. It's good stuff.
Right. Yeah, of like forced long-term.
Yes.
Because I think this is the problem, is a lot of what I'm come across this year has been people kind of, I'm in my mid-30s, so it's to be expected, but like a lot of the people I talk to, and this is just friends or single people that I know, they're all hankering after that, like the one. And I've sort of, having been through what I've been through, I just kind of, I've dropped that notion for the moment. And it's just the idea of when you're, you don't want a relationship, you're not looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever it is, but you don't want to be alone either. It's like this weird thing. And you can lean on your friends to some extent, but you don't want to become that guy. You don't want to be like that lonely guy who just hangs around. You want someone who gets it, someone who's just in that period of their life themselves and are happy to kind of, be your hobo buddy.
Well, I have bad news for you, though. Once the ladies hear this song, they're going to be lining up not for the short-term relations, but they're going to sign on full-time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to this. Before we play the song, so were the heat pipes, were they causing a little racket during the recording process? Is that why you referenced that at the start?
Yes, in my new apartment, there is a radiator right here, sat next to where I am under the window, and again at around 4-5 a.m. when this was recorded, by the way, this was one of those songs. The reason why the heat pipes come on, first of all, it was like beginning to be winter, because this was recorded, I think, fairly late last year, before I put the album out. It was one of a block of about 4 or 5 songs that I wrote very quickly at the end of last year. The heat pipes were coming on at 3 or 4 in the morning to combat the cold here in New York. But it was also one of those songs that I wrote, again, at around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and was like, I can't wait to record this. I can't put this song down and come back to it tomorrow when it's more suitable. So the reason why it has the sound that it has
is that the mic is up very loud. The gain is up very loud on the mic. And I'm singing very quietly. And I'm playing the ukulele very quietly. But the mic is picking it all up. So the reason why I say, it's the heat pipes is because you can occasionally hear like or something during the song. And I love that, man. I absolutely love it. I think it makes the track.
Yeah, and it's a great performance because you're trying to be quiet and you're trying not to wake people up. Then it makes it even more of a convincingly emotional performance. So let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. Is There No One?
Will no one dance with me in a small house? Just to stave off the decay. Are you worried that I might get the wrong idea? Or are you worried what the neighbors may say? I've had enough, I give up. From this moment I might as well let the whole world go to hell. Do what I want and how I want to. Better go down with a grin than to destroy myself within. Is there no one who will hold me in the morning? All I want is to be held. I don't want the...
All right, so now the people are just weeping. They're just all just weeping. The ladies, John, if you want to give out your phone number, I'm just saying, the ladies, my phone number is 603-644-0048. Call me or text me, and I will pass your message on to John.
Well, you can call the After Movie Diner on 347-669-0053. That's the official After Movie Diner voicemail number.
What a love connection! What a way for a relationship to start. This is delightful.
No, I'm not looking for a relationship.
That's what they all say. Yeah. So now. You deal with the same idea here. Is There No One, I guess, is You're Alone and Lonely. I Had You is It's Over song, I guess. So I guess it's a different theme. But it's definitely a different musical experience. This is I imagine like the Traveling Wilburys like up on stage rocking out to this song, and like when two singers are singing into the same microphone.
Yes.
But while strumming guitars, Yeah. And I had you till I no longer had you. That's what I imagine, and the whole audience singing along because this song is an anthem, and this is the number one stuck in my head song. Is this now this? When did you write this one, and how happy were you after you wrote it? You must have been like, "Ooh, I just wrote an anthem."
I was happiest after I recorded it. The song doesn't fully come to me until it's all put together in all the layers. And when I listened back to it, I was like, okay, now I have something. And there's only a couple of times that's ever happened. There's an album I did with my friend John, which I did by mail. Not by mail, by email, back and forth. He recorded his vocal or guitar or whatever track in London, and I whatever, and we went back and forth. And that's available on Bandcamp. But on that album, we did a song called Stupid Remakes, which I've played on the Diner before. And that was a Wilbury-esque track, traveling Wilbury-esque track, where I was specifically trying to get a sound. And at the end of the song, I don't know how I did it, but I got the sound. Mm-hmm. And then there's another song on one of the Crowd That Entertains albums where, again, we wanted a certain sound and somehow I got the sound. I Had You was like that, like putting it together and putting the layers together. It's a fun song to play just on a guitar, but like once I put it all together and then I found that great trumpet noise and I put it, had the refrain at the end where I was like, I had you, and then I realized I could then flip that and say, well, one of us has been had. Which I really liked. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a dig line, and I don't really mean it as a dig line. I just enjoyed the play on words. And then once I put it all together, it was definitely one of those tracks where I was like, that's it. If I could do that every song out the gate, I feel like I would be a millionaire.
Yeah, well, I think the hardest thing to do in a home recording setup is something with a lot of layers. You know, I find, because it just tends to get muddled for me more often than not. The more layers I add on there, this feels like it's got a lot of layers, but it's not muddled at all. It's well mixed, and that trumpet sounds like a real trumpet.
Yeah.
Totally thought you had that your roommate played trumpet or something. I was like, yeah, there's trumpet. This is great. It's got great lines. Everything up till now has been a botched experiment. That's a great line. I haven't meant a single word I've said, and yet I've meant every single word is a really good line too. It's
well, that comes from that moment where, and I'm going to get a bit personal on you, Matt, but that comes.
I love personal.
Yeah. That comes from that moment where. And I don't imagine you've ever. I mean, maybe you have. Maybe there's a dark side to Matt Farley, but I imagine you're a permanently like upbeat, funny guy. And even if you get a bit low, you're like, nah, fuck it, I'm going to record another 100 songs about, Scarlett Johansson farts or something. But which would be amazing, by the way. I could go for a whole album about that. When you're down and you're emotional and you're sharing. When you're down, you're emotional, and you're sharing your feelings with a friend, especially when you get dramatic with it. I have the tendency, obviously, in my temperament and whatever, to be a bit melodramatic. And you're saying a lot of things that feel really true at the moment and really negative and despair-filled and upsetting at the moment. And in the moment, you mean every single bit of it. But in your day-to-day life, you don't mean any of it. It's all just cathartic baggage you throw out during a confessional moment. But in that confessional moment, you really mean it. So that line is trying to explain anyone who's ever experienced depression and anyone who's tried to share that with someone, either a shrink or a friend or a family member. People will say the worst things in arguments or the worst things at moments of upset or despair that they don't mean at all. But at that moment, it feels absolutely true,
you can simultaneously feel one way and the opposite way. I think is what you're saying there. You can have both thoughts at the same time. And
what's interesting about the song is I was listening to it again the other day, and I realized that the first verse is absolutely about nothing, and then the second verse and the third verse, and then obviously the chorus and stuff is about what the song is actually about. But the first verse is about nothing. It's just some cute lines put together. I don't know why I then suddenly decided maybe I wrote the first verse, had the experience that the second verse is about, and then wrote the second verse and went, sod it, it'll just all go together,
Well, it does. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to this. Let's play a good chunk of I Had You. Get ready to rock.
Throat rasping, hands grasping, tiny squeaks and screams into the darkness. I haven't meant a single word I've said, and yet I've meant every single word. Like a stunned fighter beneath a helicopter without even a harness. Let the neighbors sometimes be disturbed. When I had you, till I no longer had you. Well, you went with me as far as you could go.
I've
John
actually
Cross.
just played the whole song. Is what I've just done.
Yeah. The people need to hear the whole thing. Those are my highlights. The whole album's fantastic. It's called Catch Up or Don't. See If I Care. And now listen, all you people listening to the After Movie Diner, just accepting entertainment on an almost weekly basis from John Cross. Pay him back, okay? Pay the poor guy back by buying this album on iTunes, buying it on Amazon. It's by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. Or, you know what? Just listen to it on Spotify. It's free to listen to, and John is going to collect a tiny fraction of a penny with each song you listen to. And the beauty of it is, if you do listen to it on Spotify, you're going to end up listening to it like 20 times because it's that good. And let's just do a quick math here, John. There's how many songs on the album?
16 songs.
16 times 20. If you listen to it, it'll earn John
like $2.
$1.60.
Right.
$1.60. Just listen to the album 20 times. It'll earn John $1. Actually, I've changed my mind. Buy the album on iTunes. It's the least you can do, and it's homemade art, which is so much better than corporate produced art. And that's what the diner. The beauty of the diner is John examines the big movies and the little movies, and definitely he shines a light on movies like Don Dohler's movies and my movies that don't get much attention. So not only is he shining lights on these works of art, he's making some of his own. And John, you're a humble guy, and I'm glad you allowed me to tell the world how great your album is.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a big part of me that was like, because when we first talked about doing the interview about the album, which I wanted to do, because I do seriously want to plug this. It is something that I'm finally putting my my pride behind, or I do genuinely like the album, which is an awkward position for me to be in because it's not really where I sit comfortably, but. When I first talked about doing the interview, I was like, oh, yeah, you can talk about the album and I'll just be silly and I'll come up with silly things about it. And you were like, no, let's do a proper interview about it. And, I was thinking about it and I was thinking, well, I don't know about that. And I don't know whether people will care, blah, 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 or whether it would just be a big, long advert for the album. And then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. I've had shows which have been interviews just like solely to advertise a person or a book or a movie or something like that. And I've only ever done little adverts at the beginning of the show for the various things that I do. And a lot of people have said to me, can you just put the adverts at the end of your podcast? Like, I don't want to hear the adverts. I want to get straight to the podcast. Which I understand, but I'm like, look, man, like we've all got to earn a living or at least get our stuff out there in some way. No one's getting rich off this. We just want to... These
entitled listeners. It's like, come on, I want my free entertainment.
Could you put the ads at the end where I can ignore them and not listen to them?
Well, I would say if 1 out of every 150 of your episodes includes a plug of an album, then you're being pretty humble. So
well, I literally have to say, and I'm not giving you false props here, but listening to the infomercial podcast, the Motern Media infomercial podcast, which by the way I love, it just continues to be like one of my favorite hours of listening. It's just good times to spend time with you and hear your songs and hear your friends chat and stuff like that. Endlessly interesting and entertaining if people aren't listening to it. But it was listening to that where I'm like, you know what? I know Matt's doing it like half and half, tongue in cheek, and half like he really feels it. This is something I really feel. Like this album I really feel. And so, yeah, I'm sorry if you've had to listen to me listeners for an hour plugging this thing. But I dig this album. This is me being like, you know what? I did something in it. If this is what comes out of 2014, the quagmire of despair that was 2014 for me, then hallelujah. This is the joyous thing that can come out of that thing without playing the whole tortured artist card, because I'm not doing that at all. I'm as happy as the next man.
Yeah. Well, tortured. I'm anti-tortured artist, but I'm not suggesting that there's no such thing as heartbreak in life.
Right.
And you can turn heartbreak into art without being a tortured artist, for sure. And I would say you definitely accomplished that.
I do feel like, though, that I wrote 16 songs and haven't even accomplished what you did with Hair on the Sweater. I found your hair on the sweater. I think that song encompasses my whole album in 1.5 minutes. And I think it only has one line, right?
I found her hair on my sweatshirt last night, and I felt so very sad.
But that's it. If you want this album in a nutshell, it's that line.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, new plan. Forget about Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. Look up I Found Her Hair on Her Sweatshirt Last Night by Mose Haven. That's it has made John's entire album redundant.
It really has.
Just kidding. Now now I enjoyed taking over the diner, but I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Okay,
and you this is your show again.
So yeah, all the links to the album will be on the post for this week's Diner show, and has been the last 3 or 4 Diner shows since December. They've all had links to where you can find the album. I'll tell everyone that it is cheapest and gets to me quickest via Bandcamp. But I have had people go, I don't know what Bandcamp is, I want it on iTunes. So that's why it's on iTunes, because someone said to me, I don't know what Bandcamp is, I don't want to give them my credit card. So I'm like, well, it's a very legitimate website. There are famous people on Bandcamp. But if you're not happy with that, it is available on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere the music is available. You can hear the whole album as many times as you like on Spotify, but the hope is that you go out and pick it up. And as a bonus, if you're thinking, oh, there's all this weighty subject matter on Catch Up or Don't See If I Care, then there are 20 joyously silly tracks about actors and film directors under the Songs About Them What Make Movies, which is also available on Spotify. Take a listen, and you would be in good company. Because James Glickenhaus, the notoriously awesome 80s and 90s action film director, James Glickenhaus, Googled himself, must have Googled the song, somehow found the song on SoundCloud and posted it all over his Facebook and his Facebook pages, because he builds Ferraris and builds cars for racetracks now, as well as working for a big company in the city that was owned by his father. And because he's given up movie making for the moment, and he posted it all over the pages. So car fanatics have listened to my song.
That's
about
fantastic.
James Glickenhaus, which is awesome. It's had 127 listens on SoundCloud. I wish that had been Spotify, but sadly he shared the SoundCloud link. But there it is. James Glickenhaus has done it, so why don't you do it? As well as the producer for the smash B-movie hit Stranded, starring Christian Slater. He found my song, the Christian Slater song, Stranded, from the movie Stranded, Shut Them Doors, in brackets, which is the name of the song. He found that, loves it, says that he wrote me an email, says that he's listened to it 100 times with a smile on his face. So why don't you do the same on Spotify? I'm not begging that people buy that album. It is available on iTunes and Amazon, but I'd much rather people go out and buy Catch Up or Don't See If I Care. But listen to that on Spotify as a treat for yourself. An extra 20 songs which you can just enjoy and laugh and kick back on. I would also recommend the Cynthia Rothrock song. Some great piano loops on there that I stole off GarageBand.
A couple of things. One, it's pretty awesome that within a week of your debut release, you already released the follow-up.
Well, that came from your interview with Milhouse G, where he said he put the same song on like 5 different albums. I already had for sale on Bandcamp. You can buy every song and almost every promo and ditty and everything that's ever appeared on the Diner Ditties page on Bandcamp. There's 3 albums. There's like 30 tracks on each album, and each album's like $5. It's such a good deal. If you want the After Movie Diner musical catalog, that's the place to go. $5 an album. Pick it up on Bandcamp. It's great. But I had so much fun putting stuff on iTunes and Amazon, and the distribution that I'm using allows me to put up as many songs as I want, but I only have it for a year. I only have it for 12 months. Unless I choose to renew. So I want to put up as much as I can, but I don't want to swamp everything. But I wanted people to have a serious album and a joke album. They can pick one and buy one, whatever their tastes are. And I realized that out of the Diner Ditties, I could put together 20 tracks that were just about actors and just about directors without you having to know some obscure B-movie I'm singing about or some random scene that the song is about. So I put them all together and I changed the names so that it is the John Cusack song, the Cynthia Rothrock song, the Christian Slater song, so that people know what they're getting, right? This is a song about Lucio Fulci. This is a song about Rutger Hauer. Who doesn't love Rutger Hauer? Like, why aren't you listening to that track right now? Rutger Hauer's a legend. Go listen to the Rutger Hauer song. There's 2 versions of it. You can have the full band version and the ukulele version. Listen to both. The ukulele version is fantastic, but the full band version, it's fantastic. It rhymes the word Rutger Hauer with as many words that rhyme with Hauer as possible. It's fantastic. Hour, flower, it's all in there. You'll love it. It's a great song. Go do that as well. Treat yourself.
And I'll tell you, I don't know, like, well, when an album is on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon, people take notice much more than if it's just on SoundCloud or Bandcamp. And even though it doesn't necessarily cost all that much or take that much effort to get it onto these other sites, it just gives you a little bit of cachet. And I think I'm glad you put it up on those. I listen on Spotify, so it's way easier for me to stream your stuff on Spotify.
Right.
On my music setup than it would be anything else. So it's good that you got it up there, and it tricks, I do it too. It tricks people into thinking you're more legitimate than you actually are when you put them on these sites.
Yeah, and it was a great, I'm using DistroKid. They're great in terms of like getting the albums out there. They've been very good. They have a good customer service that I spoke to and everything like that. But they only do a yearly subscription thing. So eventually I would end up spending way too much on it, I would imagine. But if this year, this is my guinea pig year, if this year these albums are a success, then who knows? I might be gunning for your CD Baby thing and putting them up on there.
Yeah. Well, I'm very curious to see how DistroKid works for you, too, just to see what the different options are. So that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, the difference is you pay whatever it is, 40-something or 50-something, but then that album is up for life.
Forever, yeah.
Whereas I pay $20 and it's only up for a year. So
yeah, but I mean, think of that: $20 a year over the course of 10 years. You've only spent $200. That's on CD Baby. That's the how much it would cost to put up four albums.
The other problem with you is you would have to have everything under Motern Media because they don't allow different band names unless you go for like DistroKid Pro or whatever, and I think that's more like $50-$60 a year. I can, and that's the other thing is I was forced to keep Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures as the name. So all albums that will be on iTunes, Amazon, blah, 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 will all be under Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. Even though it's a little clunky, and even though I wish I'd maybe just gone for John Cross, to hell with it. That's what it is now. People learn it. Learn how to spell miscellaneous. It's a great word to spell. It's a great word to say. People need to figure this stuff out. Come on, people. Be grown-ups.
All right. Well, you ready to discuss?
Yes,
we're going to discuss a couple of movies about... I call them a couple movies about... failed artists from the 80s.
Yeah, basically. One is the infamous Ishtar, which I have, as I said on your show, have been dying to watch since a friend of mine had the VHS back in high school, but because everyone had told me, it's a failed movie, don't bother watching it, I didn't see it. I should have learned from Howard the Duck and the Adventures of Baron Munchausen that these big flops, they can sometimes yield gems. So I should have learned. I was a moron. I finally got around to watching it. How bad could an Elaine May joint with Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman be? How bad, really? It's not bad at all. There is no bad. So that's great. And then we're also covering the Chevy Chase starring vehicle Funny Farm, which is about an author who escapes the countryside to write the great novel, but doesn't.
3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and...
These men are pawns. I put a price of 20,000 dirham on their heads.
Next, they will be hailed as the true messenger of God.
They were just a couple of songwriters who came to Ishtar to break into show business.
Easy, boy. Easy, boy.
What the hell's the matter with him? Is he blind?
Well, yeah, he is, but he's in perfect condition.
So how do they wind up on everyone's hit list?
Your life is in danger.
Behave normally. We have guns pointed at your back. No, don't put your hands up, you idiot.
Oh, little darling. My little darling.
I can't believe these men may control the fate of the Middle East.
Where are you?
Do it.
This is unbelievable.
Are the two American messengers of God dead yet?
This is the oasis.
Does this look like an oasis to you?
Yeah, look at the birds. Are those vultures?
Just for you.
He's aiming at him.
Will you stop being paranoid?
Run, Muck! They're trying to kill us.
Warren Beatty, Dustin Hoffman, Isabella Johnny.
Your girl? How did she get to be your girl?
Only you.
I think they're wonderful.
Ishtar, written and directed by Elaine May.
This is some of our best work.
So for Ishtar, at first it's a lesson in gossip, really.
Right.
It was just gossip among Hollywood people that the movie was a big mess. They spent a lot of money on it, and that is all anyone focused on when they reviewed it, and it became a flop because of all the negative talk about it. And it's just silly. I mean, who cares what went into the creation of the movie? Just look at the movie. But it seems that nobody really did, and there's a small faction of people that I'm trying to rally together who recognize that it's a flawed movie for sure, but there are brilliant moments in this film, especially the first 20 minutes. John, tell me, what did you think watching those 20 minutes?
Yeah, well, just to comment quickly on what you were saying, you're absolutely right. You couldn't get a film more vibrant and creative than Baron Munchausen, but the story on that film was always like, 40 million over budget and blah, 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 and this, that, and everything else, and the producers ran out, and Terry Gilliam's a madman, and blah, 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 blah. But if you shut all that out and watch Baron Munchausen, incredible movie. So on. The same goes for Ishtar. There is a lot of stories about what went into the movie, and it's hilarious because everyone is on the movie, if you read the backstory, to support Elaine May, especially the producer star Warren Beatty. He did it because he was like, I want to give Elaine May the chance to write and direct. But then apparently hampered her at every turn as a producer. I'm like, dude, give her the chance to write and direct and then take yourself out of the equation. Like, why are you trying to write and direct this movie? So this is clearly what was going on behind. If you read the trivia on IMDb, it's clear. And Dustin Hoffman is trying to go, listen, Warren, Elaine, calm the fuck down. Let's just make this movie. But anyway, a bunch of stuff goes on behind the scenes. Who cares? It's a story about two guys who are not, like, when you told me, it's about two songwriters who just write these, like, crazily bad songs or cumbersome songs, let's say, or interesting songs. I thought they were, like, actual songwriters. It's even better than that, folks. They are two guys who always had a dream without the talent to back the dream up. But it doesn't matter. They still have the dream. They have the dream with all the fervor and passion that Paul McCartney has a dream. It doesn't matter. And all they want to do, to the detriment of relationships and jobs and everything, is write songs. But they have no discernible skill in terms of writing songs. Although I have to say, their hit single, and you're going to have to remind me which one
Telling
it is.
the truth can be dangerous business.
Oh, man. That is fantastic. And if you play an accordion, you can't be part of my rock and roll band.
If you admit that, so good.
If you admit you can play, how little did they know? Skip forward 20 years, everyone who plays an accordion in a rock and roll band now. Everything's Mumford and Sons, right? Everything's accordions and banjos. So little did they know, if you play an accordion, you can be in a rock and roll band.
What is it? I think they're wonderful.
Telling the truth can be dangerous business. Honest and popular don't go hand in hand. If you admit that you can play the accordion, no one will hire you in a rock and roll band. But we can sing our hearts out all night. And if we're lucky, then no neighbors complain. Nobody knows where the beginning part starts out. But being human, we can live with the pain. Because life...
But just wonderful. And they're doing all the tropes of, in the first opening 20 minutes, this glorious 20 minutes, they're doing all the tropes of the artists. They're pacing around their apartment. They're like wearing mad clothes. They're drinking in like bars at like 2 a.m. trying to like get the juices going. Dustin Hoffman's job of playing at an old people's home is fantastic and wonderful, and of course mirrors a lot of your own experience in old people's homes and youth homes and things like that. So it's funny as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, obviously it's a little over the top and showing how bad they are, but there have been many moments in my songwriting, especially collaboration moments, when I'm collaborating with someone and watching Ishtar, and I'm like, oh, I've been there, where you're just coming up, and like Warren Beatty is saying like, it's a bitter herb, and Hoffman's like, there's never been a hit song with herb in it. Enough with the herb. And right. It just in the editing in that opening 20 minutes is so good. It flows wonderfully, and it flashes back and it flashes forward, and it gives you little snippets of the songs that they're writing. It is brilliantly written, brilliantly acted. It's hilarious, and I admire these two characters too, because in the face of no one liking them, they just like, we're songwriters. And the movie,
Dustin Hoffman calling himself the Hawk.
I love the Hawk. Like in Warren Beatty's writing is an ice cream truck driver, and he's so busy composing a song called Hot Fudge Love that he doesn't even notice the kids are lining up for ice cream. There's so many moments. It's so wonderfully written. You see in this little 20-minute segment, you see how they meet, you see how they collaborate, you see how they both lose their girlfriends or wives because they're so focused on their music. Hoffman attempts suicide, which is hilarious when he's up on the ledge, and even Rabbi Pierce is there to try to talk him down.
Hoffman is the pretentious one. He's the one with the ego, and Warren Beatty is the wide-eyed believer, true believer.
Yeah,
I mean they're both genuinely deluded about their talent. Which is joyous that people should be about that. I mean, look, Miley Cyrus is insanely deluded about her talent, as is the rest of the world. So, listen, I would rather 1 million of these guys than one Miley Cyrus. I would listen to the song "Telling the Truth and Be Dangerous Business" 100 times over from whatever song about her vagina she's singing this week. So definitely, but he is definitely the ego, Hoffman is, and Beatty the kind of wide-eyed follower. So what he's doing when he goes to pretend to commit suicide is that he's sat on the ledge with his phone calling Beatty to be like, oh, I'm out on my ledge, I don't know what I'm going to do, but please don't call the police, because he's not really trying to commit suicide at all. But then when the police show up and Beatty shows up, he has to go out on the ledge just to prove that what he's doing is really trying to kill himself, even though he had no intention whatsoever. And then the rabbi shows up, his parents show up, everyone shows up, and it's wonderful, it's hilarious. Yeah.
Beatty gives some great lines on that ledge scene. He says, it takes a lot of nerve to have nothing at your age. Most guys would be ashamed. What a great line. I love it. And then you'd rather have nothing than settle for less. And it's like, like it's hilarious and it's strangely inspiring.
That should be a song title. I'm surprised they don't turn, you're happy to have nothing rather than settle for less. I'm surprised they didn't turn that into a song. That would have been amazing.
Mose Haven has since done that.
Done that, yeah. And in fact, I Want to Live a Life of Quiet Desperation, the song of yours is clearly from this.
No, I hadn't seen Ishtar yet when we wrote that. That's funny.
Are you serious?
I'm not. I'm totally serious. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously a refrain throughout this film as well.
It's great. Now, another thing that I love is when they're in the restaurant when they first met and they're collaborating for what seems to be hours, and the guy's trying to close the restaurant and saying, "You got to leave," and they say, "Just give me another hour," and the guy goes, "Give me a half an hour, like the last half hour," and then they start writing a song, "Give me half an hour, like the last half hour." And it's so great just to see them turning every little mundane thing into a horrible and hilarious song. It's amazing. Oh, I love the Bud. What's Freed? What's the Marty Freed? The
agent.
Such a great character, that guy.
And they completely buy into him and what he's able to do, but he's clearly like this mad sleazepot agent who ends up sending people to Azerbaijan or whatever, to do a live setting in a place. And I love there's so many things in the film that I really like, but I mean the male bonding aspect. I'm a big fan of male bonding. There are lots and lots and lots of movies I think about women's friendships and groups of women, and TV shows about groups of women and blah 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 blah. And there's plenty of films, to be fair, about male bonding, but this in particular speaks to me, and I think it obviously speaks to you too, about you find someone who either likes what you do or wants to do it too, or someone you can be free with creatively. Even if you have a really silly idea, you can go ahead and say it to that other person and they don't immediately shoot you down or laugh you off. That's a great moment, and that's a great friendship right there. And I love the way that's born in this movie. And I also like we've talked about before with your songs, and where there's been criticism, and we've gone, but hang on a second, any topic is good for a song. I don't care. Like the Beatles sang "Octopus's Garden," which is nonsense. And just because there is a line that says, the poetry of a song like A Day in the Life by the Beatles, which was headlines picked out of a newspaper that they put together. Yeah. That works, and listening to a guy who goes half hour like the last half hour and then going half hour like the last half hour doesn't work. There is a fine line about it, and we don't know what it is. But I love that they're exploring that line.
Yeah, push the limit, because there's enough songs about going to the club.
Right.
Which is the subject of every pop song currently on the airwaves. It seems.
Or look at my butt or whatever it is. There's enough songs about butts, people.
Now you talked about the bonding and these two characters, and I think that's where the movie goes wrong. After that first 20 minutes, there's a good chunk of boringness, I think. Really, from that moment to when they buy the blind camel, there's a few peaks, but it's mostly valleys. And part of it is because they separate Beatty and Hoffman quite a lot once they get to the Middle East. And so that's a problem right there, because what's beautiful about this movie is the two guys, and also they're not writing songs together anymore for that whole section in the middle.
Right.
And the plot is just very convoluted. And
she's trying to do a road movie. Bob Hope and I forget the other guy who's in those road movies.
Bing
Crosby. That's it. Right. Crosby and Hope road movies. That's what she's trying to do with Beatty and Hoffman. And there's two interesting things about that. First of all, it's clearly in the construction of the script that there aren't enough knockabout one-liners, and they're not being put upon as a pair to compare to the Crosby Hope road movies. So therefore the plot, the twisty-turny CIA insurgent terrorist like twisty-turny plot is all a bit too much for the movie to bear, because there aren't. A movie like this would only work if there was quick fire, quick patter. I'm thinking Woody Allen in Love and Death kind of stuff. And look, Woody Allen in Love and Death, he's admitted he steals those things from Bob Hope. This doesn't have enough of that. That's
and these guys aren't that smart either, too. You know, so it's like they're not even, those characters aren't witty enough to even come up with a Bob Hope style lines either. Yeah,
it's too complicated a plot for you're trying to follow this plot and you're not getting engrossed in the farce, comedy, or double act anymore. That's what ends up happening, and that's why it gets a bad rap.
Yeah, and what a shame, because I think maybe they didn't even know what they had, because from what I read, all the New York scenes were filmed after all the desert stuff.
Right.
So it's like they filmed this mess out in the desert, and then they come to New York and film this masterpiece about two songwriters, and then they put them together. I imagine that perhaps originally that the opening part was a lot smaller, but they just they made it longer because it was so much better than everything else they had.
Yeah, I mean, the three best bits in the movie, the peaks for me are the first 20, the New York bits.
Yeah.
The blind camel bit, which is unbelievably funny because it's an obvious joke. Like, I knew when he showed up at the camel market and asked for Muhammad that everyone would be called Muhammad.
Yeah.
And I knew that when he tried to buy a blind camel, he would actually get a blind camel. But the fact that then he is leading this blind camel through and they're unaware that it is knocking people over and knocking stuff over in genuinely comedic timing, funny ways. I was laughing out loud at that. That whole bit where Hoffman's dragging the camel, and people are falling off stuff. It's Naked Gun, it's pratfalls, it's Laurel and Hardy, it's brilliant. It's all those things, and it's really well done. And then the third peak for me is when they regain the songwriting thread in the desert.
Yes.
And that whole bit about the pen. We don't need no pencil.
Oh,
like, that's
I
the
love
best
it.
line. So
we didn't
good.
even need a pencil.
Right.
It's so. One thing I want to mention is when he's talking about the blind camel, he says, "I can't hold her too tight because it hurts her tooth." You know, like he knows already that she's got a bad tooth and stuff. It was a funny little throwaway line that cracked me up a little bit. But yeah, and that's the thing. If the two of them had in each adventure that they happen into, if that was inspiring them to write more songs, if that was the thread all the way through, then it would have taken your attention away from the convoluted plot, and had fun. So there's like a good 45 minutes of where it's pretty stale in the middle. The only time, like Grodin, I like Grodin. Grodin does a good job, and there's some good lines.
He just doesn't have much funny stuff to do, but Grodin is always a welcome presence. I love him on screen.
Yeah, and there's a moment where he says they signed a pact with Gaddafi, and Hoffman's like, "Is that near here?"
Yeah.
So there's some funny back and forth. I like it, but again,
the look on Grodin's face when he realizes he's dealing with a dumbbell is pretty amazing, because he thinks he's just another American tourist that he can maybe play and get on his side and give him some money and whatever. And then if he has to eliminate him, so what? But there's that moment, like you say, when he says, "Oh, is Gaddafi near here?" Where he suddenly realizes, and the look goes across Grodin's face where he's like, "Oh no, what have I done?" Which is so Grodin. It's fantastic. It's well done.
But it should have been the both of them. They don't, these two characters are so great together that it's a shame that so much of the plot hinged on them not trusting each other for a while and being separated. So, but then once they get the blind camel, it's like the movie just completely is reinvigorated, and they start writing, like you say, they start writing songs in the desert. The auctioneer scene, it's pretty funny. I kind of like that, where they think I'm
sure now it would be un-PC or some crap, but that is funny, with him trying to pretend to be a translator of all these different desert dialects and not knowing any of them. But having Beatty as a plant in the group, so that Beatty can go, "Oh yeah, that's whatever he's saying is right," and like pointing and shouting and giving the illusion of stuff happening, But
And now, I don't think I said this yet, but like a big picture look at the movie. Tell me if I already said this, but is if you follow your dream, especially in middle age, there's a good chance you're going to end up in the desert shooting at helicopters.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a cautionary tale. Don't try to become the songwriter that you think you'll always might be, because this is what the world has in store for you. You know, I just kind of like to look at it that way, because, it's like anytime you try to insert some excitement into your life or to do what you really want to do, things can go tragically wrong. And that's just one interpretation I had.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest problem with the movie is it's trying to be three different movies, and there's also maybe, and this is not speaking to how I felt about the film, but speaking to maybe how audiences at the time felt about the film, there's maybe something to do with the obvious switch casting of Hoffman as the lady killer and Beatty as like the simple-minded side guy.
That was not necessary at all for them to do that.
But in real life, Beatty was the lady killer,
right.
and Hoffman has played more kind of soft-spoken guys. And so therefore they're playing against type. And while that's a joy with hindsight, I think maybe at the time people weren't fully dialed into that.
They didn't buy it. Yeah.
So that's an issue with the film. The Bob Hope, Bing Crosby road movie stuff doesn't work because it's not Bob Hope enough. There's not enough quick one-liners. And you can have, like I say, with something like Love and Death, you can have a big, convoluted, epic storyline of battles and great romance and weird Russian families. But as long as you've got Woody Allen in there pratfalling and saying one-liners, or, you could have a big convoluted thing about the CIA and terrorists in the desert and, all this sort of stuff going on. And who do you side with and blah, 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 blah. If you had this like strong, funny double act in the middle. But then making them failed songwriter dreamers is fascinating for us, but it's the wrong type of character to carry this other plot. They either have to be smarmy, quick-witted stand-up types, or you're telling a different story. It doesn't work to put these fish out of water idiots in such a convoluted plot. You can put fish out of water idiots in a dangerous scenario. That's been done before. Like Spies Like Us is a perfect example of where they do another kind of Crosby Hope road movie with two guys, but they're together all the time. Like that's more of a, and again, not a particularly successful movie, Spies Like Us. First 20 minutes, very funny. By the time you get them out on the mission, quote unquote, I kind of lose interest. So similar with Ishtar, but to say Ishtar is a bad movie is wrong. It's well made, it's well directed, it's well edited, it's very glossy, it's very, Beatty has been on film sets for years, Hoffman's been on film sets for years. These are people who know what they're doing. Elaine May is a very strong writer, and there's lots of great ideas and lots of high peaks in it. It's to call it a bad movie is idiotic. Paranormal Activity is a bad movie. This is a good, well-made film. Yeah,
it's got moments of pure genius. It's definitely got major lulls. It's flawed, but it's well worth watching, and it's a great window into the world of an amateur entertainer. A few moments I just want to mention that are awesome. I like the concert that they end up putting on in the middle of the movie in the hotel, where it's just Beatty for a little while, but then Hoffman shows up. I get goosebumps because the crowd actually likes them, and it's like they have their moment. They're just singing crowd pleaser songs for this, this bland audience, but it's like they're having their moment. I love it. That was great.
They're like expats, aren't they? Or maybe they're military families or whatever living in the desert, and they go along to this cafe, and all they want to hear is either the latest pop songs and or the Great American Songbook. That's all they're interested in.
Yes.
So they end up doing these very cheeseball, half-assed versions of them, but the crowd are just eating it up because they're shouting out, do My Way or do whatever, like do one of these songs, and they do them in this like cheeseball way, and it's a great success. And then there's that wonderful hope in Hoffman's line at the very end of that particular gig where he goes, "This is great. Tomorrow night we'll do our songs." And you just know that if that's that's what they did, it wouldn't work. Like, you know that all the crowd wants. And it's also a great comment on audiences in general, because there's a thing, individuals can be intelligent, people en masse are stupid, and you see it in pop charts all the time. Songs you wouldn't wipe your bum with become huge hits because 14-year-olds who have no sense of anything are buying them, or because people want wallpaper in the back of their room when they're working. They just want whatever it is playing in the background. They don't want anything they have to think about or anything that's had a lot of thought or creativity put into it. They just want white noise while they're trucking, or while they're writing, or while they're working in an office or working in a shop or whatever it is. And this is this stuff that plays on radio all the time and becomes these big songs. This is what becomes popular, and this is what's shown in this club in the middle of Morocco, is that all this audience want are songs they've heard 100 times over. They don't care who's doing it. They don't care if it's Frank Sinatra or Dustin Hoffman off key with a bandana. They don't care. As long as someone is singing one of these songs we've all heard 100 times. It's the same reason why people go to karaoke. They don't go to karaoke to pick weird little esoteric songs. It's to belt out My Way in front of a crowd of strangers and have them applaud your great genius.
Yeah. And in that way, it's insightful. It's insightful of Elaine May, to depict that happening for them, because it's frankly the only situation where they're going to get, especially in a place where the audience is starved for anything American too.
Right, but it's also interesting that and it's like what we say about podcasting, even though people are like starved for entertainment, even if you went ahead and gave them entertainment, even if it was their own songs and they put their heart and soul into it and they did it, they wouldn't like it. They'd be like, no, I want the other I want the other entertainment that I want. What is this? I don't know what this is. Like, no one's willing to give anything a chance. It's hilarious.
A couple other awesome moments, like you said, when Hoffman says we didn't need a pencil. That's a fantastic moment. And when they're shooting at the helicopter with a grenade launcher, that's pretty awesome too. And to see Charles Grodin's reaction, back at like the base,
right.
He's like, "Oh, this is kind of gotten a little bit out of hand." And then the big concert at the end, where the military is, brings in an audience and forces them to clap for the guys. The songs that they sing in that closing concert are awesome. Hello, Ishtar, and I look to Mecca and I see the place where we lived, and the funny old tree that we sat under is one of the lines. And
there's not some, there's some songs which are clearly good songs that they've deliberately put in one bad line to go, oh, these guys wrote it. But there are some songs that could have been, I want to hear all their songs. I want to hear all the songs that they're writing in the apartment at the beginning. I want a full version of Ice Cream Sundae Love, or whatever the
Hot Fudge Love.
Fudge Love. I want a whole fully produced album of every song they're meant to have written, because I would love it. I would absolutely get a big kick out of it.
It should just be a movie about a couple of hapless songwriters. And Tom Scalzo of my band Mose Haven has said that in the moment where they are leaving for Morocco, the next cut should be them returning from Morocco and saying that was a mistake, and then continuing their New York adventures. Like the desert stuff is so unnecessary. They had this these two brilliant characters and hilarious songs and a great premise, and then they just threw it into Middle Eastern intrigue, which is a very 80s thing to do, I think. So, like, 80s comedies can be so bombastic, like Three Men and a Baby. It could have just been a cute movie about three bachelors and a baby, but they have to throw in this, like, drug trafficking subplot,
Oh, yeah. No, there has to be crime and intrigue behind every window or door or whatever. Like, there has to be something going on that is also some sort of action plot or some sort of thriller plot.
It's
or some
so
sort
out of place. Yeah.
Right. Because that doesn't happen to in real life. I mean, it really just doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I do. I'm not going to end up in the knock on wood. I'm not going to end up in the desert firing at helicopters because I just wouldn't let them put me on a plane. You know, I would rather be shot in the face before they send me to, anywhere like that.
But I'm glad that I got you to watch Ishtar, though, and I'm glad you definitely appreciate it. That's your overall thoughts on Ishtar?
Oh yeah, no, perfect. It has every right to exist. It's a perfectly decent movie. Ignore why it was or how it was put together. Ignore the fact that it flopped. There's plenty to enjoy. Be aware that it is a flawed movie. It doesn't work on all counts, but also be aware that there's some, like, a real hidden gem of a movie in there. And listen, how many movies that we love from the 80s, from any era, but especially, as you say, the 80s, how many movies from the 80s really would stand up plot-wise or pacing-wise to great amounts of scrutiny? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Ghostbusters, and I love Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters is this great, big, huge success story, and blah, 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 blah. There's even moments in Ghostbusters where you're like, I'm sorry, what? There's
where
moments in that movie
where the ghost gets intimate with Dan Aykroyd.
Why is that dream sequence in there? Why is that in there?
Strange. That was a dream sequence? I didn't even realize.
It's a dream sequence where, why is he in there? Why is he wearing what seems to be like a commander's outfit with big gold epaulets and stuff? Why is the ghost about to fillet him? Like, what is that all about? Get rid of it, Dan. What is that doing in the movie? It's a knob gag in a movie to go, oh, look, here's a knob gag. But it doesn't need it. Get it out.
So out of place.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a few scenes like that. Trading Places has some scenes in it where I'm like, oh, get on with it. I love Trading Places. I think it's amazing. But there's so many of those movies where there are bits in it that don't work, that we accept, we love when we move on. It's always made me laugh that Ghostbusters 1, for example, is hailed as this great success, and Ghostbusters 2, which I think is as good. I enjoy it as much. I think it's as funny, but it is considered a shitty, inferior, terrible sequel that nobody likes and everyone wants to poop on from a great height. And I'm like, I don't understand where you're coming from, man. It's Bill Murray, he's cracking wise, they're busting ghosts. What's your problem here? You know what I mean? Like, it's all the same stuff. And the same goes for Ishtar. Like, you've heard the bad negative press about it. Don't believe it. Check it out. Just understand that some bits are going to be a little bit of a slog. But every movie has that, man. You're
absolutely right. And it's got some great insights into...
you make me such a positive man, Matt. That's what you do. You make me such a positive reviewer.
You're welcome. Some great insights into the creative process that are super funny, but really, really do ring true. And I think anyone who tries to do something creative is, from time to time, going to feel like a big old idiot, you know, even the best songwriter every once in a while probably feels like these guys. So it's really good for anyone who writes songs or does anything creative.
Oh no, completely. And there are any number of songs that I write for albums even now, or that I wrote, especially as a teenager. There's any number of songs that I wrote as a teenager that could quite happily sit next to these songs in terms of like poetic, nightmarish rubbish. But everyone has a moment where they're like, maybe I'll write a song about, like you say, ice cream and love or something, and I'll try and put it together. And there are plenty of songs from the 50s that are as dopey as that song. So like, no, I think it is important. And you know, since I've entered the world of the internet and met people like you and met people like the Dolo filmmakers and all the rest of it, like, I'm so much more open and so much more positive and so much more enthralled by that idea. And put in the male bonding angle there and put in some funny lines and some funny scenes, and I'm all behind them. I would want a straight movie about them songwriting in which in the end they didn't have to con someone to get a gig. They got an actual gig and they were a success with these dopey songs. That would even say something about the mass appeal of crappy pop music, them being a success. Have a top 40 hit with Hot Fudge Love or the Telling the Truth Can Be Dangerous, but have a top 40. I could point to any number of utterly stupid top 40 hits. Anything by Rod Stewart, for example, from the 80s, like anything that he sang about, like Raspberry Beret by Prince. Come on now. Like, what are you singing about? What are you talking about? So let's have a movie in which these two guys are great successes and have it as a comment on the music industry. So.
Yeah, and it could also be a comment on the whole "so bad it's good" approach to art too. You know,
sure,
that people like them because they're laughing at them, but the songwriters themselves aren't necessarily aware of it. But the songs are so good. Telling the truth can be dangerous business. It's just such a lame concept to wrap a lead single around. But
dude, Elton John wrote "Sorry seems to be the hardest word." I mean, come on now, it's the same damn thing, right?
Yeah, but Elton luckily managed to sing it to put a little bit of soul into it, where these guys just kind of telling the truth can be dangerous business. And
well, they're not musicians. If they wrote that song or the lyrics to that song and gave it to, if they were the Bernie Taupin, let's say, to an Elton John.
Elton
knows?
Could sell it. You're totally right.
I would change the line about an accordion and rock and roll band, but I mean, seriously, dude, people need to go back to some of the songs that Elton and Billy Joel and other people did in the late 70s to beginning of the 80s, Eric Clapton or David Bowie. I mean, come on, some of the lyrics in there, they're not... You know, they're all over the place. So.
Yeah, I would say it's all arbitrary. You know, you could be saying any words here, and it's as meaningful or meaningless as the next thing. But I mean, hey, Ishtar brings this much thought. You know, it's thought provoking and it's joyous. And seriously, I teared up a little bit at the end when they're in the desert shooting at the helicopter, and they're like, you know, this isn't quiet desperation, and, you know, this isn't poverty, baby. It's like, you know what? You're right. They did, a couple of guys who hopped on that plane to Morocco because they wanted to be musicians, and they end up in the desert, and they're like, well, we might die out here, but, hey, we're actually living, and that's awesome. I love it.
Oh, that's the other bit I forgot, is when they suddenly realize they're out in the middle of the desert, the thing that gives them the most pain is that they're going to miss the show.
And if
they miss the show in this like dive bar in Morocco, then they'll never get booked anywhere else in the world again. That's a great thing, because they have this understanding of the showbiz ethic that you have to turn up for the show, you have to be on time, you have to be professional. It doesn't matter what you do in the show, but like you have to be on time, you have to be professional. And right out the gate, they're going to get this reputation for people who drop shows and stuff. I love that. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
One last moment that I love is when the camel won't move and they're yelling at it, "Come on, don't you want to move? Why do you want to just sit here? You're going to get shot." And then Beatty says, you know, I kind of admire that. And Hoffman's like, me too. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's
the
hilarious.
camel's just giving up. And the fact that at the very end of the movie, although there isn't, they attempt to have some sort of love triangle thing going on with Isabella Adjani. Is that her name?
I don't know, but that's good enough for me.
I apologize, Isabella, if you're listening. But at
she's crying.
At the very end, of all the people who get to see this gig at the very end, she, out of everyone, loves them. She just looks down, teary-eyed, and says, "I think they're fantastic," or whatever.
Yeah, and it's good, and I believe her, and it's awesome. So watch Ishtar, ladies and gentlemen. It's not...
everyone needs but one fan, sir.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Hi, before we go on to the last film of the show, I do hope you're enjoying this episode of the After Movie Diner. And if you're enjoying this episode of the After Movie Diner, why don't you let us know by going over to patreon.com, or our particular website, which is www.patreon.com/aftermoviediner. That's Patreon, Patreon.com, and show your support for all the work that goes into creating these podcasts each week. And donate or sponsor or become a patron of the After Movie Diner. For as little as just $1 an episode, or 70p if you're in the UK, you can show your appreciation and make sure that the After Movie Diner keeps on trucking throughout 2015 and well into the future. We absolutely adore putting the show together, and we really do try and do our very best with production and with songs and with comedy and with everything like that, while also trying to get interesting guests and talk about fascinating films. And you can show your appreciation of all that work by going over to www.patreon.com, that's patreon.com/aftermoviediner, and sponsoring the show. Thanks ever so much for everyone who already does it, and thanks ever so much for everyone who's going to do it in the future. And now back to the show.
Should we talk Funny Farm now?
Yeah, let's talk Funny Farm. So are you happy to do that? You're good?
Oh, this is a great thrill for me because they came out around the same time, and they're both about struggling artists or misguided. Perhaps that's the better word for it. Misguided or overly ambitious. Chevy Chase is going to write the great American novel up in Maine, and again, it's like a cautionary tale. If you dare to quit your job and go write the great American novel, your wife is going to end up becoming a successful children's author, and you're going to end up dressed in army fatigues trying
to destroy a postman.
Trying to get the mailman, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's our movers!
Chevy Chase is leaving the city to live in the country.
See you out there! Who the hell is that? How should I know?
Surrounded by Earth's little living treasures.
Mosquito.
With room to roam for his loyal dog.
Is it alive?
A place where he can bond with nature.
Oh! Ah!
And hook up with a few close friends. Where people take pride in their jobs.
That maniac is our mailman.
Where home is safe and secure. Where all the food tastes like mom's. And all the neighbors treat you like family.
I have good news. We've decided to stay.
Chevy Chase, Funny Farm.
Oh, and it's a much more solid movie than Ishtar. I don't think it has quite the highs that Ishtar hits at times, but it doesn't have nearly the lows. I'd say Ishtar at moments is A+, and at other moments is like a D, whereas Funny Farm is like a B+, A- from start to finish.
Yeah. The only reservation I have about Funny Farm is entirely a personal one, and that is that I don't tend to connect with, and I think of films like Money Pit and other films like that, I don't tend to connect with movies in which everything goes wrong for someone. Now, there is a much funnier, slightly surreal, some great running gags, especially in this movie, that I love, that I cherish. I love the dog running away. I love the fact that the ducks keep trying to escape and they can't, and they keep everything that happens bothers the ducks.
Yes.
Like they show up and the ducks are all happy and serene, and it's brilliant.
The ducks are some of my favorite characters.
But everything from the removal man throwing the chair into the pond to the mailman every morning with his backfiring truck to everything, the dog tries to eat the ducks, everything that happens, that's a really funny through line. And then even when the ducks try and fly south for the winter, the duck hunters almost kill them. That's some great running business. But all the stuff about this doesn't work in the house, and arguments between the couple, and everyone in town hates them, and he ends up eating lamb's testicles by mistake, like all that stuff, I'm a bit like, I don't really embrace that comedy.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean for sure. And I'm usually focused more on just the Chevy trying to be a writer, and Chevy falling into his bit of depression and and drinking and hanging out with the Criterion brothers. That's what it's all. I agree. Like the whole fishing scene when he goes fishing with those guys. I don't care one way or the other.
Right.
So I hear you there. I forgive it, but I guess there are a few more lows than I'm giving it. Credit
the best
for.
bits is things like the sheriff doesn't know how to drive. That's brilliant. That's a fantastic gag. But then again, the gag that the funeral home is trying to charge them thousands of dollars to bury this body they find on their property. Again, don't care. Take it out. Not really relevant. It's just. I'm not one for Schadenfreude comedy. I don't like laughing at the misfortune of others. It's just not something... If it's a well set up pratfall, like a Buster Keaton thing or a Laurel and Hardy thing or whatever, that's brilliant. I think that's really well done. And if it's a funny running gag or a good character-based thing, or if the person himself gets himself wrapped up in a farcical situation, then great. But just misery happening to others, I'm always like, oh no, please don't destroy that lovely home, or oh no, I wish the dog would come back, or oh no, I wish he wasn't divorcing his wife, or whatever. I get personally invested in the characters, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should be able to be detached, but I don't want to watch a movie detached. I want to get involved. So
I hear you. Like when he's eating the lamb fries, that's just like it's not clever or
right.
smart.
Just make him a success. Like make it. It would be so much funnier. Like what about Bob, where they always wanted to buy the home. But then the doctor bought the home out from under them, the old couple, and so every time he sees the doctor, the wife is like, son of a bitch, and he's like, she never says that. That's really funny. But have it in Funny Farm that when he eats the lamb fries and he beats the record, that someone else in town is then angry at him for beating his record. That would be a great gag. But having it just that he ate testicles, like
it's like, come on, that's like second grade humor. So.
But the joyous bit of that whole evening, the whole anniversary night out, is the fact that his big surprise is he's written this book.
The book.
He gives it to his wife to read on his anniversary. He takes her to this romantic cottage. He lights a fire. He gets champagne, and then goes, sit down and read my manuscript.
And it... that rings so true in my life. As soon as I've finished anything, I want to show it to my wife, and I just stare at her as she's looking. If she's listening to a song I did, I'm like, "Isn't it good? Isn't it good?" It's exactly that scene. And
have you ever done it on an anniversary though, or a special, or Valentine's Day or something?
I have a little bit more sense than just barely a little more, and that's the heart. That's the heart of the movie. It's this dark, sad vortex that Chevy goes into because he's not a good writer. And the scene where he starts writing. First off, The Big Heist is such a wonderfully bland title for his great American novel, and then he sits there and he writes and he falls asleep. I just love that. Right.
And then, of course, the bird outside the window, when he first sees it, is like, oh, wow, nature coming into my little world. And then within a day, he's throwing his coffee at it because it's still chirping away. And he's like, oh, fucking, it just throws his coffee at it,
Then we see Chevy at the typewriter typing and laughing at what he's come up with, which it totally feels like me right there. Yellow Dog, I love Yellow Dog. Yellow Dog's just like the duck. Yellow Dog's a great character. Don't you like him?
I love Yellow Dog, and I love the fact that the only thing that excites him is digging up a corpse. Everything else is asleep. The best bit of business with Yellow Dog is Chase coming in, sniffing ever so slightly. You wouldn't even, if you were just watching this movie, you wouldn't necessarily notice, but he sniffs ever so slightly, bends down, and just delicately pulls Yellow Dog's tail out of the fire. Or out of the edge of the fire, and then goes back to sitting down. It's just a wonderful bit of business.
And there's the subtle and smart humor, so diametrically opposed to the lamb fries scene,
Oh yeah,
and
completely.
I want more of just the subtle joke that Yellow Dog is so mellow that his tail is burning in the fire, and he just lets it happen, and Chevy has to move it. Oh, that is so subtle.
I like to think the Yellow Dog's kind of depressed. I like to think he's given up on life, and only then it gets excited when bones are on the menu and he can dig up bones. And then he walks in on this wonderful carol concert later on with a full human arm in his mouth, happily,
and then the wife's got to hit him with a frying pan,
which
and the
is
next
really
time...
dark and twisted that she has to beat the dog round the head.
I know.
We laugh at it because the door shuts, you don't see it, you hear a thunk, you hear a squeak, and then the dog falls down, and you go ha ha ha. But at the same time, like, she just like, if you saw it, like someone actually hit a dog around the head, that wouldn't be funny, you know?
I know. And then he's got the ice pack on his head the next time we see him, which is a nice little touch too.
Oh yeah, no, that's lovely. And you know, we're well aware that Yellow Dog can take it. But it's also the fact that Yellow Dog then, after that incident, goes back to being depressed. There's no more excitement about the dead body anymore. That's it. He's been told, no, you can't have any fun. And he just goes back to being depressed again. But that's one of the wonderful bits, is when, so distraught at the experience of everything that's going on, he buys a dog. He's like, if I can't make any friends in the town, I'm going to buy one. And he buys this wonderful Irish setter. They drive it home with the dog sat on his lap. He gets it out and tries to kill the dogs. And then he's like, shoo, don't go near the dogs. And the dog just runs away. And it's paid off brilliantly when later he sees the dog running over the hill. And he's like, hey, like that. The dog just runs off. Those bits. I'm all about those bits.
Yeah, because and I think quite often it does have that subtle humor, you know, and the set piece, again, the lamb fries is the best example of it, but also when he's on the boat and hitting the guy, you know, trying to knock the guy out when he's got the hook in him.
Right.
That's a little over the top and a little 80s in that way too, you know, just
well,
going...
like I love The Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, but the scene where they go off in the speedboat and hilarity doesn't really ensue. I don't care about that, you know what I mean? It's just, oh, look, fat man on a speedboat is funny. It's like, well, no, it's not. Let's just move on from that.
Yeah, give me some subtle humor, please. And luckily, though, they deliver. And I mean, it's just funny to see how then the wife is writing a children's book, you know, and how she explains to him what the book's about, you know?
That's another great scene when she's in the antique shop. And everything she picks up, she like picks up the teacup and she's like, that's all I have to remember my dead sister from or something.
Yeah, it's the only thing that survived the explosion, I think.
And then she sits down in the rocking chair. This is lovely. I'm going to have this. I don't think anyone's sat in there since my dearly departed husband. Like, everything, she's just ruining everything for this old lady who's the librarian from Ghostbusters, to bring it back to Ghostbusters.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. And then she sits down and gets horrified by the stuffed squirrel, but then that ends up being her inspiration, just like me working in the basement of the North Las Vegas municipal buildings inspires a mediocre album several years later.
Oh, no, it's a fantastic album. Come on, we're still pushing this thing.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, fantastic album.
So, you know, it's just great to watch Chevy. You know, Chevy starts drinking. He's not writing anymore, you know, and he's completely focused on the mailman, which, you know, it's like the movie's almost a little bit about writer's block too. You know, it's like any distraction that you will accept any distraction you can to avoid the task of writing this book, you know?
Right. It's almost, people don't necessarily, like, to be in a city, some people get it, some people don't. And I understand some people are city folk and some people aren't. The best thing about the city is, while there are a million distractions, they're also all distractions you can completely ignore once you're in your own place. Like, here I am sat up in the Bronx in New York. I don't feel like I'm in New York. I don't feel like I'm in the Bronx. I'm in my space. I'm in my room. I'm in my place. I can podcast. I can write. I can do my music. I can whatever. And then I can go out and enjoy the city and blah, 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 blah. Now, yeah, occasionally on a Saturday, the upstairs neighbors have a party, or you can hear noise or music or whatever. Or during the day, you can hear stuff going on outside. But it's all stuff, to me, that is part of my world anyway. Like, I can tune it out or tune it in as I see fit. But whereas if you took me to the countryside and there was a bird specifically chirping, that would really, I'd be like, oh, that bird's going to keep doing that, is it? Oh, okay.
No, that's a very good point, because when everything else is the volume of everything else is lowered, then the one thing that is out there making noise seems amplified.
Right. Whereas, for example, when I taking it back to the album very quickly, there's a track on my album that's recorded as the Dawn Chorus was singing. I have a window looks over onto a courtyard at the back of my apartment right by where I record, and I heard the Dawn Chorus all summer because, like you say, I was up at these ludicrous times of the morning. Go to bed, John. I had the window open and I could hear the dawn chorus, and it didn't bother me because it was all part of the experience. Like, to me, that was wonderful. As you say, if all the other volume was turned down and all I heard was that all day, that would be, no good.
So then, and then, like, much like in Ishtar, how they kind of they tie it up with the army is basically forced, the military is forced to promote the new album by these guys, just kind of wrap things up in a nice little ending. They have this ending where they pay off the town to help them sell their house, and it's kind of funny, especially the cue the deer moment is pretty funny.
Right.
When Chevy does that. And I like when the guy who wants to buy the house says, "I want everything, even the dog." And then you see Chevy's like, "Yellow dog?" He's like, that's a great little moment. And then the dog looks up with his ice pack on his head, and that's a great little moment. But I think the heart of the movie is really just watching Chevy's failed attempts at being a writer. Those are the moments I like. When he shows her the script in the little bungalow, that's a great scene. And the fact that she doesn't like it. It's just so great. That's their big night out. And
that's the most Ishtar moment, is when she says there are flashbacks and there are flash forwards, and I think even at one point a flash sideways.
Yeah,
like that's a very Ishtar thing. We never get to read any of the novel, unfortunately, but that feels to me like the most Ishtar moment in terms of creativity and writing.
Yeah, so it's good. It's dark. It's funny. It's dark. Yeah,
I don't buy the whole "we're going to get divorced" thing, but then that's all done away with because they know that they've paid the townsfolk, so they know that whatever they've lived in the last 24 hours hanging out with these people they're trying to get to sell the property to is fake.
Yeah.
So why that then wins them over instead of the other couple? It's fine, you go with it. It's a movie trope. It is what it is. Yeah. And you are rooting for them to get back together. You don't want them to get divorced or have this all fall apart.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily buy it. Him, however, becoming a small-town sports writer and her becoming a children's book author and them having a family and staying in the small town, I totally buy that. I mean,
that works.
That's fantastic. Works. If there was a way, back when I was married, if there was a way that I could have taken what I do with the podcast and become a movie reviewer for the Bangor Gazette or something, and gone and lived in the countryside, I would have done that in a heartbeat. I would go live up a mountain somewhere in a cottage or a cabin. I'd write a paragraph about each movie that was playing at the local 3-screen theater, and I'd be that happy as Larry. So I get that ending very, very much so, completely.
Yeah, and I don't think they like $100 is no. It's $50 per person to help if they do something specific to help sell the house. It's like, is that enough incentive that you're going to spend an entire weekend singing carols and stuff? You know what I mean, for the townsfolk?
I think the other glaring error in this movie is that the townsfolk are mostly either like the sheriff, who are going to be like, these city folk, let them have their comeuppance. Or, like, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just a jolly small-town sheriff. Or they're grumpy hicks who are idiots. There is more of a chance to make a nice... to create a world, to give, like, everyone different characters. And I think maybe they thought they were doing that with the crazy sheriff and the old antiques lady, but... I could do with more of that, and I could do with less of it being us against them. I could do with someone in the town beyond the antiques lady, like, liking them or something. I don't know why, but I just find the whole, we're a big bunch of ignorant hicks who are going to do whatever we can for $50. Like, that kind of doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, it's not believable, and that's not the heart of the movie. In fact, I could have watched if the movie was just Chevy and his wife in the cottage,
right?
Having like this back and forth between each other's writing careers. That would have That's what I would have liked. How about the Shining and Funny Farm? Perhaps there's some. They're both allegories about writer's block. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, listen, that is definitely a parallel that I will happily accept. And I'm not saying that because it's funny to say it. I'm saying it because it's true. It doesn't get as dark and twisted. He doesn't chase anyone with an axe, but in a comedic sense, it gets pretty close. He wants to destroy the mailman with a big boulder. Like, he would happily see that mailman, like, his truck crushed and him possibly injured. He'd happily see that.
Yes.
They are going to divorce. They are planning to divorce. She does beat the dog over the head with a pan. Like, it gets pretty... It
gets dark, yeah.
He does rebury the dead body they find on their property back in the property for no other... Not for the financial reason, but to spite his wife. That's why he does it, to say, like, well, see if she likes it now with the dead body back on the property. Like, it gets pretty dark.
Yeah, another thing I love is just the phrase "four poker buddies knocking over a casino."
Yeah, right.
He said he describes it to her as that, and then when the publisher calls her and she answers, and he says it's about squirrels, she's like, "I thought it was about four poker buddies knocking over a casino." It's a funny little moment. So It's an interesting examination of the creative process, and it's got some darkness to it. It has, we could do without all of the townspeople. Honestly, I'll keep the mailman. I would keep the mailman, and that's about it. But it's got moments, and I'm never upset with any of it. I'm always comfortable in this world and sitting back, and there's always little moments that keep me chuckling, keep me entertained.
I quite like that. The refrain at the beginning with the movers is like, whenever I find the guy who wrote this map, and the payoff of that joke rather is when the movers show up and Chevy Chase is really angry. He's like, you've been like 24 hours, we had to sleep on the floor, blah, 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 blah. I drew you that map. Like, that's a great payoff to that bit. Now, him getting angry and throwing the chair in the pond or whatever is fine. But Chevy Chase ending his rant as the van is coming down the driveway, and the two guys being legitimately worried, like, oh no, we're not going to get paid for this now, and we're going to have to do a refund and blah, 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 blah. Once it ends with, I drew you a map, that's it, that he's for the high jump. And
yeah, there's lots of nice touches in the script. I think it's pretty well written, and a lot of things come back.
By Jeffrey Boehm, who would go on to write and produce Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., as well as being one of the producers on Lost, I believe.
Interesting. Another great moment is she eats the apple, the last bit of food that's left when they're waiting for the movers to arrive, and he hears her biting into the apple as she's singing to him, and then when she announces she wants a divorce, he brings it up. He's like, and what about the apple? And
yeah. He's tried to sell her manuscript as his own, and yet his big counter-argument is, but what about the apple?
Don't deny it. I stepped on the core, he says, and that's a great little touch. So, yeah, it's well written. What do you get on those guys? Oh, yeah, Jeffrey
Boehm, fascinating guy. What a string of hits he wrote in the 80s. Check this out. The Dead Zone, Inner Space, The Lost Boys, Funny Farm, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, and The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. He only puts a foot wrong with The Phantom in 1996, but up until then, it's hits all the way for Jeffrey Boehm, writer, producer, director.
Pretty cool. And this one, Funny Farm, pretty much under the radar, you don't hear it mentioned by a lot of people. When people are talking Chevy Chase movies, you're going to hear the Vacation movies and Fletch. In Funny Farm, I rarely hear people mention. I think it's an overlooked gem.
Right, indeed. Yeah, his writing partner is Carlton Cuse, although he did not work on this one, but he did a lot of TV with Jeffrey Boehm. He's the one who worked on Lost. and Nash Bridges, Martial Law, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., and so on. He's more of a TV writer. But Jeffrey Bowen, what a string of hits, man! What an interesting guy. It would be wonderful to talk to him about his writing process and what he did to put these movies together. But he does a bit of action, bit of comedy, bit of horror. It's all good.
And George Roy Hill directed it, and he's of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid fame. So he's a pro. I think it might have been one of his last movies. Are you looking at that or no?
Yeah, his big films were Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Slapshot, World According to Garp, and Funny Farm was indeed his last film as a director. In 1988.
Yeah, you can tell it's a professionally made little movie, and it has a lot of nice touches, and I enjoy revisiting it, especially from the viewpoint of a failed
right.
As a failed creative person myself,
but you're not, sir. That's the thing, is you're not at all. I want to know, though, do you know what this got me thinking? I'm just going to one last point before I go on to this. George Roy Hill did The Sting as well, Slapshot. World According to Garp's probably his deepest movie, but I think a very charming filmmaker. Nothing too heavy or ominous. Just a very light, but does it well. Does light, charming.
Just a professional filmmaker guy who knows what he's doing, and you can just trust him with a project. It seems, not that I know anything about him, but yeah.
But this is what I wanted to ask, having seen Funny Farm and knowing your setup there at home and what you do. Is Elizabeth frantically penning songs in the attic and secretly making an album without you knowing? And are there any plans, because I know she's a wonderful singer, for Elizabeth and you to do an album of just songs with her, and or you and her doing a Sonny and Cher thing and singing together? Or do you think that would destroy the balance? Would that ruin...
it would be. We talk about collaborating, but it would be. It would be interesting for sure. But one thing, the way we work is she comes up with. Her viewpoint is that she comes up with really good ideas and never follows through on them, and I come up with really bad ideas and always follow through on them. So, but she definitely gives me a lot of ideas too. And anytime I'm doing an album. If I'm coming up with topics, I'll brainstorm with her. So most of our collaborating is in the early stage of each album. But,
like a Tom Waits, Kathleen Brennan type affair.
Absolutely, yeah.
He credits her as co-songwriter on all his songs, but I get the feeling from interviews that it's more that she is his muse. You know?
Yeah, like she's there for the big picture stuff, and then he takes over for the nitty gritty.
I imagine so. Although I have no idea, she might be a lyrical genius. Who knows?
Good point. All right. Any other thoughts on Funny Farm?
No, I think both movies, while they're not the 80s comedies I'm going to put in all the time, they are perfectly well made, perfectly charming, and both have their high moments. Remembering some of the bits right now has made me laugh out loud. That's a genuine reaction. So if you haven't checked them out, I say check them out on a rainy Sunday afternoon and have a bit of a chuckle. Bit of what I like to think of as a calm, charming chuckle. It's not a laugh out loud, anarchic, quick one-liner, laugh a minute, but there's plenty to enjoy.
Yeah, Funny Farm's a lot more subtle than Ishtar. And Ishtar is a big old mess, for sure. It is definitely a mess. So critics who might have pointed that out are correct, but to call it the worst movie ever made is ridiculous. It's made by talented and intelligent people, and it's got great moments. So I'm glad that we've brought that to light tonight.
Britney Spears and One Direction have both made movies. So look, it's hardly the worst movie ever made.
Very good point.
I've come down a lot on pop stars this podcast. I think it's going to be a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute, he's just an anti-populist. I'm not buying his album. Screw him with his opinions on Miley Cyrus and Britney Spears. And
I don't think there's a lot of Miley fans who are also Diner fans. So you're fine.
I don't know, man. I think there might be an interesting crossover. I like to think about it. I often thinking about like creativity and stuff. It's an odd beast. I know that if I just did a 50-minute movie podcast that started a movie podcast and ended a movie podcast, I would have so many more listeners. I know that people tune in and go, I thought it was a movie podcast. What's all this silly comedy? Boom, turn it off. I know that happens more often than not.
Right, but the ones who stay, who stay are really get to know you and live for it. You know?
I'm creating a body of work that will live long after I die. That's what I want.
Hey, I've listened to you discuss dozens of movies that I've never seen and never will see. But
you'll never watch them. Nothing that.
Really. Yeah. I mean, those. Before Kane and Keaton, what was the?
Woods and Weller.
Yeah, those Woods and Weller movies. I will not see any of them, but I listened to you guys discuss each and every one of them. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
You would probably like Leviathan and of Unnatural Origin or Unusual Origin or whatever the rat one was, where he was fighting off rats in a brownstone in New York, because it's just Weller fighting off beastly rats. You would love it in a sort of monster movie type way.
Excellent.
Anyway, sorry.
All right, I think we did it, though.
We did, sir. It was fantastic. It was great. I hope I didn't keep you too late, but I really enjoyed that, man. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, and we always have great conversations, and that was great. Thanks so much, man, for helping me promote the album. And I don't know, I think there's a nice symmetry between the album talk and then going into Ishtar, so I might keep it as a whole long episode.
I would too. Yeah, I would too. And it does flow perfectly into it. So,
but I love the way it looks, man. I love that. Like, I go on Spotify and there's my album cover that I designed. Like,
I know.
Awesome, right? I love it. It gives me chills, man. I'm really excited.
I mean, 25 years ago to get an album in a record store would be you'd have to be selected by a record company, you know, and now you just do it for $20. That's crazy.
Yeah, and now so we wait and see. I mean, like I say, no one's getting rich off this thing, but and yeah, I've listened to your Motern Media 8-hour whatever it was once through so far.
Oh, cool. God bless.
2015. So I will try and do that again, and I will hopefully be around for World Motern Media Day and be tweeting along, and hopefully I'll say to my temp agent, can't work that day, it's World Motern Media Day, I've got to sit at my computer and listen to Matt's stuff.
I just did an episode with Tom last night.
Nice.
And in it, I did the math. I was like, we have about 100 listeners per episode. All we need is each of them to get 10,000 people to listen to the playlist, and we're done.
Yeah, so that's nice and easy. 10,000 people.
Foolproof. Great talk, sir.
Yes, no, excellent, sir. Thanks so much. And I urge everyone listening to rate and review Motern Media wherever they find it and all its incarnations, as well as buy some albums and listen to Spotify, because what a great man who makes music is Matt.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
All right. All right,
Chucks away, friend. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
What is it? I think they're wonderful.
Telling the truth can be dangerous business. Honest and popular don't go hand in hand. If you admit that you can play the accordion, no one will hire you in a rock and roll band. But we can sing our hearts out all night. And if we're lucky, then no neighbors complain. Nobody knows where the beginning part starts out. But being human, we can live with the pain. Because life is the way we audition for God. Let us pray.